we could review them together and everyone could say that they like them, or if you want, I could give you another month to review them, whatever you prefer.
Maybe from a process perspective, it'd be better to pull them up now and look at them quickly.
Sure. Yeah.
Just so we don't have a big hole.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Let me share my screen. Yes. All right. So can you see the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess actually I do have a question about who is present in February. I documented, me, Amy, Jeff, John. I, for some reason, didn't know if Alan was present. Alan, do you remember if you were at our February meeting?
Let me see, scroll down.
So we were discussing the design guidelines, and then we were editing a letter about pedestrian safety in Junction Square Park.
Yes, I was there.
Okay.
I was in attendance.
Great. Okay. And then at that meeting, Marcia was there as usual, Amy Robinson was there, and Sue Felshen was there. And I have Sue Felshen as being a member of the public, but if she actually has a role on another town committee and I don't know it, or is on the select board or something, tell me that and I can make note of that. Okay. So during that meeting, we essentially went through some detailed comments about that design guidelines doc, and we talked, I think, at length about the naming of West Concord Junction as opposed to it being called West Concord Village or West Concord Center. And Marcia told us that the MCC had basically told us that we should call it West Concord Junction, and so that's why we are doing that, as well as to honor history. And Sue Felshen had suggested adding language to the document about preserving sight lines to the Harvey Wheeler Community Center, clock tower. And then John asked about formula businesses in the district, and Marcia said that more would be allowed because we had reached our limit. And then we went through editing that letter that we ultimately sent about pedestrian safety in Junction Square Park. We voted to approve it. And then we did liaison updates. So that's basically what I.
Marcia's last name is spelled wrong.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Is that Sue? Sue, you're so good at helping us with details.
Liaison updates, 4th paragraph.
Liaison updates. Right. Okay. And then maybe right here as well. No.
No, it was right the first time.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, I think those are the minutes.
That looks good to me. Does anyone have any comments or edits on those?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that. All right. And then I believe I have to do a roll call again. Here, let me just adjust my view of all of you so I can see you better. Sorry, guys. Okay. So roll call vote. Jeff Welton.
Approve.
Susan. Sorry.
Approve. It's okay.
Alan.
Approved.
And I will also vote to approve the minutes as amended.
Awesome.
All right. So the motion to approve our February minutes is unanimously approved. Guys, if Jeff and Susan, if you wouldn't mind sending me the amended minutes, I will forward them to the town and we can get them officially posted.
Okay.
Did you have changes on mine?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. No. No amendments to the first one.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. And our second item on the agenda was a new member update. So Amy Robinson was officially approved by the planning board and by the select board and again by the select board. Hooray, welcome on board. So as soon as she's sworn in, she will be an official member. And we're very excited to have her. So thank you so much for being interested in the committee. We are lucky to have you.
Thank you.
As was hinted at earlier, we have another member of the community who has submitted a green card, Ann Sussman,
Yay.
as she foreshadowed at our last meeting. So Ann and I spoke since our last meeting, just a little bit about the committee, and Ann was going to take a minute or two just to let us know about her interest in the committee and some of the related topics that she feels particularly passionate about. And I think we have a glimpse into some of that through our work with her on the design guideline preamble, but she was generous enough to join us tonight and give us a little bit of a scoop.
Well,
Sound right? Did I do that okay?
Yeah, I know it's really busy and it's getting late. So I'll just say I'm a licensed architect and I'm very interested in making places that make people happy. And I'm very interested in walkability, as I think Susan knows.
I've got that impression. Yeah.
I want people to be safe. And I did live in Europe 5 years in my 20s. And so in a way, I think Europe kind of changed me because it was so easy to live there without a car. And when you came back here, it was just so difficult. And so I think Americans have a lot to learn. We have to become a little bit more like Europe that way, where it's safe for people of all kinds of mobility to move around. And I think we can do it. And I think we're being true to Thoreau's roots to do this in Concord. We can show America. I do have a license in architecture. I have a new book coming out, my second edition, called Cognitive Architecture, Designing for How We Respond to the Built Environment. It has biometrics. So I kind of, my wheelhouse is kind of architecture and neuroscience, how architecture impacts us subliminally. I could talk to you more about that some other time.
Need to hire you on as a consultant on some of my projects, Ian.
We do have a nonprofit called the Human Architecture and Planning Institute. It's at the Mill. It got its tax exempt status in May, and it's all about teaching people about how to design better, so the subliminal experience is better, because it turns out your subliminal experience impacts your stress level and basically your behavior without you realizing it, because we are animals. I mean, right? You get it. Woof. So that's basically it. So, but I'm really excited because I think we can really show, I mean, I was on another call today with the Transportation Advisory Committee, and someone said something brilliant there, how in a way we can do things and it can be a method for doing it elsewhere in town. We can suggest things, we can make a project, a method for, showing how to make a town more walkable. We can make it, other towns can use it.
Good thoughts. Thank you. Thank you for being interested in WCAC. Okay. Any questions for Ann? No? Okay. So we will add, the next step in our process is that our many-step process for new membership is that Ann I'll add Ann to her nomination, or a recommendation, a vote for us to recommend her to the planning board for membership on WCAC is the next step in the process. Unless we scare her away tonight, but I don't think we will. Okay. So thank you, Ann, for being here, and thank you again for being interested. Our next step, a topic familiar to Ann's heart, our the preamble for the design guidelines that she and Susan have been working on.
Yes, I will share my screen so that we can all look at this together. And I've done a bit of work kind of cleaning up our past document, and Anne has helped contribute on, wording, and also sent a great article from like 5 years ago from when West Concord got its cultural district status. And I've put that in here as well, as something that we can include in the packet, so to speak. But maybe what I should do is just kind of go through what you're seeing here right now and how it aligns with what we've reviewed in the past, and just kind of give an overview of this entire document. And then, if as I'm doing that, you see something that doesn't look right, feel free to stop me. Others, well, everyone on this call, I think maybe with the exception of Amy R. and Sue, got this document maybe a day ago. So if you haven't had a chance to review it, it's totally fine. But I feel like we can continue with another couple of weeks of providing input on it. And then I do want to at some point get on the planning board's agenda to talk to them about it so we can get it signed off by them. So anyway, let's take a spin through this. So we start off here with our vision statement, which talks about evidence-based design, prioritizing pedestrians, reinforcing the sense of place, supporting the community's narrative, incorporating time-tested architectural traditions, and being welcoming to all peoples. So we essentially have pictures interspersed. This is the Concord Outfitters building with 3 stones over here. And then this map, I'm hoping to swap out for something a little bit more descriptive that I can potentially get from Marcia's office. I put in an email to Elizabeth Hughes to try and get something that gives us a bit of a better sense of the boundaries of the junction, but there'll be kind of a half-page map here. So after the vision, then we roll into what is the junction like? And I actually created this heading after seeing that we had a few paragraphs of content that hadn't been kind of defined by, you know, what you're going to get when you read this. And so I felt like what is West Concord Junction like would be a good way to prep people for what they're going to hear in this section. So essentially we go into, you know, describing what we love about West Concord Junction, emphasizing that it's functional, not just decorative. And kind of, you know, aspirationally as well, describing, you know, what we feel the community is and how we want to preserve that. Down here, we talk a bit about Harvey Wheeler and the brand symbol for the district, or sorry, for West Concord Junction. I did attend the Cultural District Committee meeting last night, and I do think they may be thinking of replacing this brand symbol, but that is kind of to be determined. So we may just take this piece out if that's going to be in flux a little bit. Let's see. We talk a bit about the shops all kind of like lining up so that you can walk evenly and without disruption down the street and enjoy looking in the big windows to see what you might want to buy or taste or, you know, engage with as you walk. And then we have sort of a timeline that gives anyone reading this document a sense of the, I guess, the story arc, the recent story arc for West Concord Junction. Certainly it goes way, you know, further back in history than 2010, but I think 2010 is when the town of Concord really started to think about identifying West Concord Junction as a separate place with a separate story to the rest of Concord. And then we have, you know, drawing inspiration from our past, where we share these fabulous postcards and photos that were taken long ago of the junction, and then compare the depot, actually, the West Concord Junction station, with the current building. That, I mean, they're the same building, but they look a teeny bit different. And the building here is being used as a cafe at the moment. So not necessarily like a place where people buy their train tickets anymore, but it's still being utilized in a very functional and helpful way for the community. The vision statement principles expand a little bit more on the briefer vision statement that was at the beginning. So time-tested design, active commercial uses, pedestrian focused, walkable, hopefully calm traffic, a network of gathering spaces, and then environmental and sustainability goals in here. And then we give people some advice on how to use this document. We want people to read this before they come to us with new building designs or rehabilitated building designs. I think it would be helpful for folks to see this before they start drawing up their architectural plans. And we want this document to communicate our preferences for making the most of every new or retrofitted building opportunity. here are Anne's 6 tips, so that helps anybody who just wants kind of like the Cliff Notes version on what we're looking for. And then I added in this article, as I mentioned, that Anne circulated yesterday from about 5 years ago when the cultural district was approved. And I thought this was really cool, this paragraph here that talked about the first train line, which I guess was put in place in 1844. And then, 30-ish years later, another train line came through, and that's what really created the junction. And amazingly, 125 trains were passing through West Concord every day, which is just so crazy to me, thinking now that, I mean, maybe we have, when the commuter rail schedule gets back to normal, maybe it's, I don't know, 15 or 20, but 125, like that's super busy. So anyway, I thought this was really cool history. And then they talked a little bit about the shops and restaurants that existed at the time that the cultural district was put in place. And then here we have our picture displays. And I have, I think, like a good 5 or 6 pages of these, and each one has sort of a theme. So this is showing buildings along Commonwealth Avenue and talking about the distinct top, middle, and bottom, the large active windows, encouraging people to linger in the district or in the junction. This next page is showcasing buildings that reference traditional New England design. And I added these 2 down here, which are from Junction Square. So I guess John's not here, but a thank you to John for taking these pictures. Amy also took, I think, 1 or 2 of Junction Square, but ultimately, I think John's were a little bit more well situated, and so I incorporated these here. Let's see, this one is a little bit about moving around in the junction. So of course we have a picture again of the train depot and the tracks, walking on the sidewalk, and also biking or walking on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. Thank you, Amy, for this picture. It's great here. This page talks about the Art Studios and Workspaces. So this kind of shows off the Bradford Mill complex and talks a bit about Artscape, and the fact that there's co-working space here, and essentially, space for makers or for people who are, entrepreneurial and, need a little bit of office space in West Concord. This page showcases our outdoor murals, because we do feel like there will be more of these, and they also really capture the spirit of people in West Concord coming together to make their community better in a way that involves making something with your hands or contributing in an artistic or designy way. So we want to make sure that anyone looking to come to our community realizes the priority we place on that, and also potentially offers up a blank wall for the next mural as well. And then we've got our churches here, which we make the point that these churches, in this case, the church is decommissioned and is housing the Concord Youth Theater, which draws lots of people from all over other communities besides just Concord to come and be thespians and learn how to act and sing and all of that good stuff. And then this West Concord Union Church also houses the Concord Conservatory, yeah, where you can get lessons for any instrument, or learn a little bit more about any particular music that you want to pursue. So this church is still operating as a church, but it has space in it for the conservatory. And then finally, we've got Harvey Wheeler Community Theater and Fowler Library. Both are, bastions of West Concord Junction. The Harvey Wheeler Community Center was built in 1918, and the Fowler Library, I think, 1930, and then expanded after that. So we wanted to make the point that these are, cherished buildings, and we want to make sure that people aren't building to a height that obscures this clock tower, because it's kind of an iconic symbol of the junction. And the library is a place that people come and go. During non-COVID times, people hang out there and read and socialize outside and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a gathering spot. So yeah, so that is this document, and I would consider it to be, I would say like 90% ready to go at this point. Still happy to take comments on, the pictures or the text, but hoping that it's kind of like making its way to the point that we can present it to the planning board.
I think it looks great. I think you guys have done an amazing job pulling this together, and I think it's going to be a huge asset.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys have
thank
been
you.
wonderful giving all of your comments, and every person's ideas have been incorporated in this, which I think is the spirit of our community and also our committee too.
Thank you guys for taking this on, and thank you for being so receptive to our to our many comments. Certainly, I threw a bunch at you.
It's okay. No, it's good.
Susan, you said you're probably 90% ready to go on this, and I caught a couple of things like swap out the map. But
Yep.
what are those remaining items before?
So yeah, I would say swap out the map and potentially omit reference to this as the West Concord Junction
Right. Oh yeah, I caught that.
brand
Yep.
symbol. So that would involve taking some, like a sentence or two out of the text and removing this picture.
Okay.
And then let's see what else. I would like to actually maybe create a table of contents for this so that people would know, like, the first, whatever it is, 6 or 7 pages are the narrative about the design, the design preamble, and then there's the part that is the article about us getting our cultural district designation, and then after that is like the picture gallery. So I wouldn't mind creating like a hyperlinked table of contents so people can easily go from one section to the other without it seeming overwhelming. So those are the things that I'm thinking of. And then so the cultural district committee also has this draft document. I'd love for them to get back to me with any suggestions they might have. I think many of them haven't had a chance to review it in detail. I think you all you might want to take another spin through it. And then finally, I was kind of hoping that Sue, who is so detail oriented and really has an eye for grammar and sentence construction and all of that, might be able to help us with a final pass at editing as well.
I raised my hand because I was about to beg for that.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
I already noticed, dare I say, a typo or two, and please, yes, I re-volunteer. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
I thought she volunteered, or someone volunteered last time to take a look
Yes.
at it. Was that
Yeah.
Sue?
Yeah, I remember that. So I guess one thing I should ask, this is in PDF form because I've had to put it in a design program to get it laid out the way it is. Would all the editors feel comfortable just providing like the page number and the thing that needs to be edited in an email when they send that to me? Or I could maybe try to break it back down into Word again, but it's going to get sort of sloppy, unfortunately.
No, we'll survive.
Or you could, what you could do is if you do have like Adobe at a level that you can, put the comments in and stuff, like you can always do this whole comment thing and then do that. If people want to do that, if you have Adobe Acrobat and it looks like this at the top where you have these little tools, that would be good too.
Susan, I read through it, and the only real thing that I saw was just, I was unclear about where that article had come from.
Okay.
And I just think maybe you can somehow offset it a little bit more so that it's clear, and then maybe that's part of your table of contents effort, but it just was kind of an abrupt transition.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So let me do a little bit more work on making that flow in better.
Susan, had you heard anything back from Elizabeth Hughes about the map at all?
Not yet, but I emailed her like maybe 2 days ago. So I'm not trying to like rush her or anything, but if there's another person I should contact as well, I'm happy to kind of reach out to more people.
I just know that she is currently swamped because we're trying to put information together for town council, and that she is getting her second vaccine tomorrow and is not expecting, she's hoping that things are fine on Friday, but I might be able to coordinate or at least touch base with her and then talk to our GIS coordinator and see if they could put something together for you that's a little easier.
That would be amazing. And honestly, if they wanted to make it a full page, I think we could accommodate that in here. It just, I don't want to make it microscopic and have people be like trying to figure out, well, how do I like use the magnifying glass to see what these boundaries are? It would be nice for it to, you know, take up as much space as it needs to be clear.
Okay. Yeah.
I had one substantive comment that I wanted to ask folks on the heading on page, if you go to page 2,
Right here? Okay.
yeah, I really appreciated the additional heading for the description of West Concord. And as I was reading it, I agree, like 90, I would say 90% of it is just dead true, and maybe 10% of it is aspirational. And I was wondering if maybe like, I don't, these are probably not the right words, but if maybe the heading wanted to be something like what do people value about West Concord Junction or something like that, because in all those, like all the things we talk about, you could sort of squint and think of an instance where that kind of happens. Even if it isn't you know, ubiquitously happening you know, things like crosswalks are easy to find and everywhere. Like that's true in certain places, and there are certain places where it's a little trickier and there's room for improvement. Or or like, you know, it's buzzy at meal times with all the people eating outside. I think we're starting to see that, and that's really cool. So anyway, so I was just wondering if maybe there's maybe a caption like that would hit it dead on. And I don't know if other people had thoughts on that. And page 2, the bottom of page 2, it looks like your the text stops regard to its significance as a.
Oh, yep, you're right. Yep, thank you.
Is your thought in terms of process, is your thought that we should send any final comments over the next week or two, and then it comes back for final, we love it at our May meeting, and then it goes to the planning board? Or were you hoping to do that sooner?
I mean, I'd be up for doing it sooner, as long as we, I guess, could agree on a process tonight. It'd probably be simpler to just like vote on it or whatever at our May meeting, but I don't want to drag my feet on it, like if we feel like it's nearly ready to go.
What do folks think? Oh, Marcia, you're
Yeah, if
muted.
you're also expecting comments from the West Concord Junction Cultural District, you may want to keep it at a regular meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, let's do that. So let's say like our drop dead for it is our May meeting, and we can have the cultural district final comments also due for their May meeting. And that'll mean like by the first week of May, we should have it finalized. And then I know the planning board meets every 2 weeks, so I could probably get on their schedule, hopefully soonish. Maybe after town meeting. Is town meeting is in May, isn't it, Marcia? When is it?
June this year.
Oh, June. Okay.
End of June 13th. That's Sunday.
Okay. Okay. So maybe I can get on their schedule for some time, like in the part of May before they're going to get absolutely crazy prepping for town meeting. I don't know. We'll see.
So then we would, as a committee, approve it at our next meeting in May, and then you take it to the board, right?
Yes.
You try and get on their schedule. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I say something from the Cultural District Committee?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say that I think from the last meeting, everyone loved it. And I think you're not going to get many more comments from them. I think they're fine with it. And I think your idea of just taking out the brand thing might not be there because we're not quite sure now. That'd probably be good. But I think everything else we're good to go. I don't think they want to keep discussing it anymore. I think they think it's kind of resolved, and because they want to do other things now on their meeting time.
Yep.
But I agree, they would have to have a formal vote for May. That's certainly fair.
Okay.
I think they're really happy with it and they were amazed at what you pulled together.
It was definitely a group effort. All the pictures contributed and all of the wordsmithing and the suggestions. I mean, I think it really, it made it a true group effort, which is important.
Any other comments from the public, from the committee, from anyone?
I guess I have a quick question, since I'll be voting on it probably, but I haven't seen it except to watch you all discuss it. I don't know, do you want to like, I don't have it, so maybe if you want my comments or my thoughts or like an informed vote on it next time, then if you could email me a copy of it, that would be great.
Absolutely. I don't have your email, Amy, so maybe how I don't necessarily like, I don't need to like say it right now in a public forum or whatever. You don't need to tell me it, but I wonder how could I get it?
Amy, the other Amy hasn't.
Right.
Okay. All right.
And I sent you, Amy, I believe, an email this afternoon.
Oh, I didn't
That
see
has
that.
the version that Susan circulated. But after this meeting, I'll send an email to the full group so that everyone has everyone's email address.
Great, thank you.
So I guess, yeah, if people could look at the version that they have in their possession right now and suggest any edits, that would be great. And the changes, what?
I'm sorry, do you want to give us a deadline?
Ooh, should I? Okay, let's
Give us
see.
a deadline. Yeah. And that way you have think about what you need to incorporate any comments before it goes back. Even if it's just, next week.
Could I set a deadline of, I mean, should we say like by the end of day on the 19th, which is probably a day that many people will have off. So in case they can't get to it in the next coming couple weekends, at least like on the 19th, when they have an extra day that they're not working, maybe they could be looking at it. I don't know.
Could you
Sorry,
send this to me as well so that I can forward it to Sue Felshen so she'll have it, or what I could, or if it's okay with you, I can put you two in contact.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Emails. So
yeah.
Okay.
And as a reminder, for myself, as much as anything, we should all send comments directly to Susan, so we're not deliberating, and she will, incorporate our comments to as she sees fit, and then bring it back to us at the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So April, should we say that the deadline is April 19th for people to get their comments over? Does that work? Perfect.
That's spring break for the schools, so
I
think it's good to have it before folks go on spring break.
Yeah, that's true. That is break week. I mean, do you want me to move it forward so that people would do it before they head out for like that weekend that might be kicking off a multi-day vacation for themselves, or do you think the 19th is still okay? It's the first, I guess, the first day of spring.
Yeah. Your call. I mean, personally, I'll be trying to review and get them out before the weekend.
Okay.
But that's not everybody. So a few extra days is good.
Okay.
19th.
Well, yeah, we'll keep it at the 19th. And I mean, I suppose if I have not heard from people, say by like the 15th or 16th, maybe I will single people out and just say, I'm checking in to see if you have any final comments on this document, just to make sure that people aren't forgetting or that I'm not missing out on some good feedback. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next item on the agenda was a discussion about areas of focus as we wind up our focus on the preamble to the design guidelines. Are there things that committee members or members of the public would like to suggest as projects for WCAC over the coming months?
Does anyone have any ideas?
I have one idea that might be like overreaching the remit of our committee, which is trying to find the ideal tenant for the 99 space that's vacant. And I don't know, maybe Marcia knows that people have been inquiring about that space, but it seems like a little bit strange to have it not be occupied. And maybe we could, like, as opposed to just waiting for some business to come to us that maybe we're only half excited about, maybe we should pursue some that we think would be a good fit there.
I actually had my first inquiry today.
Oh, okay.
They're reaching out to the owners because they're interested in leasing the building. So
Huh, okay.
what the business is going to be, but that was my first inquiry.
Okay.
Yeah, and Susan, I really like that idea. And it's not just for, maybe the 5 and dime or the 99 or things like that, but looking at the community and just kind of the whole ecosystem. It's like, well, what do we have? What are we missing? What would we like? What do we want to attract? I think that's a good approach instead of just waiting.
And like, Marcia, would we be overstepping our bounds as a town committee doing something like that? Or is that within our rights, I guess?
I'm not clear on your question. How proactive are you talking?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I was thinking like if I knew of a family run business that was in another town and I thought like, I wonder if they're looking for expansion opportunities. They're a great business that might fit well in our town. And I just called them up and said, are you aware that there's a such and such square foot location in the center of our town that's open for lease right now? Have you ever thought of expanding? And can I help you learn a little bit more about West Concord? Do you think you'd be interested?
That would be way outside of what committees normally do, but I don't think you're prohibited from doing it. You wouldn't be able to represent that the town could do anything for them. But you might at least alert them to the space and to talk about how they might be a good fit for West Concord.
Okay.
As you were saying that, I was thinking about something that crossed my desk today. I hear that Clover is looking for brick and mortar locations. I don't know that this is one that they would like at all, but I'm curious, does that feel to people in this group like something that would be a good fit, or too big an operation already, or too, I'm just curious.
I love Clover.
I think it's the inverse. I think the 99 is probably too large a space for them, but it's not the only vacancy in West Concord. And I love Clover.
It's pretty delicious.
Yeah, it is.
Out of curiosity, I mean, anyone on this call think that's a terrible fit for West Concord?
It's a great fit.
No, that's a really good fit. Yeah.
Probably very attractive to the businesses on Baker Ave extension.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which reminds me that I've been commenting and failed to say Sue Felshin 19 Sunnyside Lane. And when you get around to members of the public, I have a couple of answers, things to say about what the committee might work on.
I think let's open the floor to the public.
Oh, well, me again. So I have a couple of suggestions. First of all, I remember that there was a rather large list of things that might be done in the West Concord Master Plan. And some of those are not doable. Some of them have already been done. Some of them may no longer be appropriate. But I think that there are a couple that spring to mind are, there was an idea of putting a pocket park at the edge of the Harvey Wheeler parking lot, looking down over Tea Cakes and Twin Seafood, or maybe Tea Cakes and the other side of that parking lot. Obviously would take away a few parking spaces, but it was, I thought, a really interesting idea with a great view looking down Commonwealth Ave. And there was also the idea of trying to fit a stairway in from the parking lot to the lower level. It's an issue because of ADA compliance, and Church Street is too steep. But what I never did find out is if the distance going the other way around was too long for ADA compliance, or if it would count to go around the former 99 direction. Let's see. I'm not remembering all of the items in that list after this many years. Marcia will roll her eyes in disgust that I keep bringing this up, but one bugbear of mine is that on the extended Beharrell Street, there's that 10 or 15 or 20-foot section of no sidewalk. And I always trespass, but I saw other people going around dangerously in the street or with a tripping hazard. And there is a simple idea for a tiny little swap of two little triangles of land that it would make it possible to have the sidewalk go around there. And I think that that would just be a good thing for pedestrian safety.
With can I ask a question on that, Marcia? With the development on that site, does that get any better? I guess no.
No.
Yeah.
And you know, I think the owners of that property passed away, and so you know there's a new owner. It might be that this committee could continue to lobby for that activity, that the town might talk to the, encourage the town to outreach to the owners to see if they would be open to such a land swap, or working with the owners of Brookside and the owners of that building to help with that land swap. And see if there's anything that we can do to promote that. So
Interesting.
I know that the engineering division is looking at some upgrades and improvements to Commonwealth Ave, and they're going to be coming back to you hopefully sooner rather than later. I'm not sure what their time frame is. I believe they're working on engineering drawings this year with construction expected in 2022. But that's something that you'll want to be aware of and have at least some preliminary conversations with. I forget who volunteered to be reaching out to Public Works, but that would be really important. Alan Cathcart is the director, and Stephen Dukran is the town engineer, and would be both contacts. So if I can do any introductions, I'll be happy to do that. What else?
I think that's Alan. Is that right?
Okay.
Yep. It'd be a good one to make sure we are in the loop on.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it
can
can't
you
be forced, but
just
it makes so much
repeat
sense.
that in terms of what to ask them? My headset was out for a second.
Public Works is designing, coordinating the design for improvements to Commonwealth Ave that includes some bump outs for pedestrian crossings. And that is in design this year, and then construction will be next year. It's part of the Brookside project, but also part of an improvement project that Public Works received a grant for. So Stephen Dukran
Yep.
is the town engineer. And Alan, you can reach out directly, or if you want me to do an introduction, I can do that. if you want.
I'll reach out to him directly.
If possible, it would be so much more cost effective to do it at the same time as the Brookside project, obviously.
We are coordinating both.
No,
what-
no, I mean, if the land can be swapped in time, and that
Okay.
is reliant on the new owner, and one can only do the best one can
Yeah.
of the other land.
A good comment. That's a tricky section. I know with like my giant stroller.
It's just,
Other thoughts on areas of focus?
I'm a member of the public. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I think that sidewalk walkability, to be able to see the sidewalk that's going in, and to also assess ones beforehand, to do evidence-based design, what sidewalks really work well, what doesn't. In addition, we have, as you know, crosswalk shortages. There's no crosswalk at Church Street. There's some other areas where there are no crosswalks where I walk into West Concord every day from Bradford Street from Old Marlborough Road to Bradford Street. And so I see what's going on, and it's just not safe the way it needs to be safe. And it's going to be a problem. We've really, really got to focus on walkability and safety and that choice of the way we're designing our sidewalks. We should really look at that. Yeah, two other points that are coming up. You should know that if, maybe Susan told you, but we are doing branding. The West Concord Cultural District is doing branding. So you may want to see that branding, both the signage and the map that are going to be used to define West Concord. It might be something maybe we show you before it's definitely rolled out. Marcia's been very helpful in getting us the funding to be able to, first time ever, we'll have a map just for our district. And that's something that you might want to see, be involved a little bit in what the signs finally look like for West Concord, because you are the West Concord Advisory Committee. And one other thing I'll finally add about safety and walkability. I did speak to the Transportation Advisory Committee about unsafe speed limits on Old Marlborough Road. In the past 13 months, there have been 3 car crashes, and we're very worried with speeders going 30, 35 more miles per hour, that what's going to happen with the rail trail opening more in November, we're going to have a catastrophe. So that is something too about safe speed limits throughout West Concord. It's something we hope to take up with the Board of Selectmen about maybe making more of West Concord a 25-mile-per-hour zone. Because right now on Old Marlborough Road, the speed limit changes 7 times between Ornac and the public middle school, which simply is not safe. So we really need to work on that. One thing I will note that some towns around us are doing amazing things that's mind-blowing. So just so you know, in Cambridge, they now have mandated 10-mile-per-hour streets on Harvard Street, Magazine Street, and a 3rd street. I'll think of it in a second. It's going to be 10 miles per hour indefinitely, because they really want to encourage all kinds of mobility, walking, stroller pushing, you know, and so that, and they want, they're really making public safety the major thing. So I think it might be useful to look at what other towns are doing to really secure safety for pedestrian and bicyclists.
These are all great thoughts. Alan, were you going to throw something else on the table?
Just to add to that, but it was mainly a question. You threw out a couple of road names, Anne, that I'm not familiar with. Are you suggesting just extending outside of what this committee has purview to, more just West Concord as a whole?
Well, I presume the purview of West Concord is West Concord, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so you've got parking, you've got varied ranges of speed limits around here that would not be permitted in other towns.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean,
And there's more people biking and more people with young kids who are terrified. And
Yeah.
we really we'll look on that, particularly as a cultural district. We want to invite people to walk and buy and purchase and engage with art. And they can't do it if cars are speeding in at 30 miles an
Commonwealth
hour.
Ave over by the prison is, you know, people zoom through there pretty quickly as well. And I want to say that's like 30
yeah, it
in
is.
several stretches as you approach the downtown, which to me seems like as a gut about 5 miles faster than it wants to be. But I know these decisions are complex.
Yeah, and I think in general, the the crosswalks that have the buttons and the lights and, you know, flash are really good, but they're not at some crosswalks that should have them. I think you know, adding those would be beneficial.
Particularly the really busy crosswalks.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe a good next step on this is for us to do some thinking over the next couple of weeks about where we think the committee would be most interested in focusing, where we think we could be most impactful, and then each come with, you know, with an idea about where we'd most like to focus, and make some decisions at our May meeting. Maybe pick a couple things to focus on over the next 6 months or so. Does that sound like a good strategy? I was going to raise the turkey at the prison parking lot issue, but that he seems to have disappeared. I don't know if you guys have been tracking this.
3 turkeys in my backyard this morning. That's clearly where they went.
It's very aggressive, hostile turkey that will let no one in or out of the parking lot. Has been like harassing cars in the roundabout. It's pretty funny.
I thought of another thing I wanted to ask. Whatever happened with new signage for the train station parking lot? For example, to make it clear that the town-owned part of the parking lot is free and doesn't require a town parking sticker after commuting hours, whatever those might be declared to be, so that people would realize they could park there to eat at any of the West Concord restaurants in the evening. You know, after 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I'm not sure exactly what hour, people stop taking the train into the city and needing parking. So it just doesn't seem practical to me to declare that those spaces should remain empty all night while people are attacking each other like vicious turkeys for street parking.
Is that the main, are you talking about the main parking lot where they have that pay by phone app?
Well, it's complicated because it's half owned by the town and half owned by transportation, state transportation, but we could at least control our part.
There have been a number of initiatives going on. One was the West Concord Junction Cultural District was looking at some signage in that parking lot. We were looking at improving the signage and then trying to coordinate all these different pieces. In the middle of COVID, everything just fell apart. So since we can't meet in person, or we weren't able to meet in person for the longest time, it makes it extremely challenging to have a rational conversation about that. But it is, the other thing is that Concord Park Assisted Living is also looking at changing out their signage. So I think there's going to be some continuing conversation about that, and definitely a need to do exactly that. So having this committee interested and keeping people aware of the issues is important.
Thanks, Marcia. Luckily, nobody's eating in restaurants at the moment. Luckily, ha.
If we're open-ended right now, I just wanted to alert you that the 13B Commonwealth Ave, that property that's currently vacant, but there's a parking lot right next to Beharrell Street that Patrick Cleary has talked with you at length about the design for. He will need to come back to you because he is working with a new architect who is bringing some new ideas to the plan. It's refining what you have seen already, and I think an improvement over what was approved, but that will either be at your May meeting or June.
Okay.
So just to be aware of that. I think it's kind of exciting what he wants to show you. So I'm hopeful that I'm not off the mark, but it'll be up to you to take a look at that, and that's something that's coming in the future.
That's great. Anything else on your radar that you would suggest as a potential focus for us?
There's just a lot going on. I know that there's the Junction Village Open Space Task Force is they're beginning their meetings, and they'll probably be reaching out to you at some point in time, or they're trying to identify the different groups that they want to meet with, but you're one of them on their list. So there may be a liaison relationship. And I just wrote down that maybe I should go back to the master plan and pull out the recommendations and send that to all of you so that you can all take a look and see if there's anything, and if there's any new projects that are on the horizon, I will bring that to your attention.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, full disclosure, I am a member of the open space, the task force, the Junction Village Open Space Task Force, but we hadn't been discussing it and it hasn't been relevant, so I've been speaking for myself tonight. Yeah.
When they sunset, you're going to come back to us, right? With your green card?
I guess I could. I only served 1 year. Can I throw one teeny weeny little thing out?
Yeah.
On Bradford Street, where it curves, there used to be this wonderful old tree, and nothing, it was huge and nothing lasts forever, and it died around a year or two ago. And I think it would just be lovely if there was a street tree there, or if the owner of Bradford Mill would be willing to put in a tree. And I'm sure it can't be in the exact same location because roots, but it really seems so open and asphalted now.
Didn't we have a discussion last year about funding available for street trees?
They're in the right of way, or I think there's like a, well, Marcia should do this because she actually knows this.
Private property, I got one. It's great.
Yeah, and I think that like if it can't be planted within X number of feet of your right of way, that there's some flexibility in where it might go. Does it sound like this location would be eligible? Is it within the right of way or no? Not sure.
For Marcia, where I was thinking about was, it was between the parking lot and the roadway, but it doesn't have to be in the exact same spot. It's just very bare there.
I would have to take a look at it. I think that there were some issues with the transformer perhaps as well, electrical transformer. And I know that part of the issue with street trees on Commonwealth Ave is that the utilities, the sidewalks are already narrow. The utilities are in the sidewalk rather than in the middle of the road. And you know, when you add so many different things that we just can't get street trees or have planters. So, you know, it's really important to look at where we can add trees on properties. So,
right.
I know that they've just finished, or they will be publishing a tree report or tree plan through Public Works. Aaron McCloskey is the Highway and Ground Superintendent, and he mentioned this at the Select Board meeting on Monday, and that should be published next week. So there might be some information there that would help you.
Totally reminds me. The high school has the tree project for all incoming freshmen, where they have to run around town and find 50 trees or whatever number they've reduced it to now. And I have found almost every kind of tree on the tree list in West Concord, but no black walnuts and no horse chestnuts. I can't imagine why people don't want things falling on their heads. But at any rate, it would be cool, I think, if trees on the tree list were to be found on public land in West Concord, just generally, you know, if you found places to put them in. I think that would be an interesting project, maybe even to open up to high school students and say, what do you think?
Cool idea. I recently, a couple months ago, got a copy of the trees that are approved for the town's planting program on within the right of way. And there was a whole big list, and we were having a debate, my husband and I, because we had to take down some very large trees in our front yard about, you know, do we take one of those? Do we want something more, you know, something different? What is our tree vision? What tree defines us? But it was a large list. Any liaison updates? I'm sorry, I'm getting a visitor. I'm going to be back in one moment.
wait for her to come back. Looks familiar from the pictures?
All right, sorry for the interruption. All right, good night. Sleep tight. Sorry.
No.
Okay, should we do liaison updates? Anything else on topics of focus, or should we go to liaison updates?
I think
Hearing
you
no
have enough
objections.
time.
Liaison updates.
I can
Go ahead,
give,
Jeff.
I can give one from, I went to the Economic Vitality Committee meeting, and I talked with John Boynton beforehand about what, you know, how we could liaise with them. And they found things for us to liaison. So, but in general, I think this is a really good committee for us to connect with. They've been focused mostly the last year on Concord Together because of the pandemic. And so they've really been off what their, I guess, their original mission was. But they're coming back and really focusing on, you know, making the community more business friendly and supportive of the businesses. There were a couple of updates in the meeting that were useful. And outdoor dining, people might know, is coming back in a couple of weeks. There is the new Ecology along Concord Trails that was announced and is available at the Visitors Center for sale. Quite interesting, of all the ecology along the various trails. There's a planning, and I think the dates are on the books, but it hasn't, I don't know if we've gotten a formal announcement yet, of some sort of spring event in West Concord towards the end of May. It's, you know, we got to be careful with still socially distancing and not congregating too much, but there will be, the plan is to have some art displays, some fencing displays. So the Green Thumbs are going to do some things. And so that's going to be coming up in May. And then the Economic Vitality Committee is really working on trying to discover the ways that they can help make it easier for businesses for new businesses to come into Concord. And so they're working on a survey to go out to groups such as ours, and I offered to be the liaison for that, asking folks, what's your role when a new business comes in, and what are the things that you can do that you think need to be done differently to make it easier for new businesses to start in Concord in general, West Concord in specific for us, and just looking for ways to streamline and make more welcoming the process of bringing in a new business. So we'll be seeing some requests for information on that. I'll share that with the committee as I get them. Marcia, do you have other thing? Is that a correct kind of overview?
I think that's a good overview. Yes.
Great. The only other thing I would mention on that, no, and there's a new sign museum at the Bradford Mills of old signs from around Concord, antique signs from around Concord. And not exactly sure where it is in the mill, but it is, it'll be opening shortly, and they've collected a whole bunch of signs and going to be featuring the 5 and 10 sign to start with.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Excellent. Other liaison updates?
I have an update from the Cultural District Committee to kind of add on to some of what Anne had said earlier. And then Jeff also had mentioned this May event in West Concord. And I think I got the impression that the same sort of event was also happening in Concord Center too. It was kind of a like economic development / like retail festival or something like that in May. And I think the dates that we discussed in that cultural district committee meeting was like the 19th through the 22nd of May. I don't know if that sounds right to you, Jeff. Like, oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they had finalized on the dates yet.
Yeah. So that seems like when it might be happening. And the cultural district committee seemed to think that there could be like an art walk component to it, and perhaps people would display artwork in the different store windows, sort of similar to, I think, a partnership that the Umbrella had with some storefronts in Concord Center, maybe over the holidays, where Umbrella artists, because people couldn't come into the Umbrella and browse artwork, they moved some of the artwork to these storefronts in Concord Center, and some people were able to admire it, buy artwork, etc., using that approach. And I think that's being looked at for this spring event as well.
Who did you say was planning that? Susan?
I guess the Economic Vitality Committee. I
Okay.
heard about, oh, sorry, Marcia's shaking her head. I heard about it at the Cultural District Committee meeting yesterday, but who is planning it?
It's Margot Kimball is working with other businesses in West Concord to pull this together. So
Oh, okay.
West Concord business, it's being driven by the West Concord businesses.
Oh, I see. So it doesn't extend into Concord Center. It's a West Concord centric event. Okay. Okay. Thanks for the correction on that. Great. Let's see. And another thing that's happening during that same May time period is that the farm mural, which is the next big mural that West Concord is going to have on display, sounds like it's going to be going up on the side of Saltbox Kitchen during that time period of May 19th through 22nd. So they're going to have an unveiling of that and put it up there, which is going to be amazing. There also are going to be more doors. I don't know if you all remember the Get Outdoors promotion that was established on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail in the fall, where different artists creatively painted actual doors and they were installed at various locations on the rail trail. That is going to be getting up and running again, it sounds like, in the spring, which will be nice. They'll be putting new doors up. Let's see. And I guess the select board needs to vote on supporting the cultural district's renewal in West Concord as part of the whole process of the cultural district getting another 5 years. Is that, maybe that's not right, Marcia?
No, they've already done that.
They've done it. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay. So I guess then maybe the next thing is that MCC sort of like gives it the check mark that like, yes, you're a cultural district for the next 5 years or something.
No, I have to put information together for that.
Oh, it's not that easy. Okay.
It's not that easy.
Let's see. Great. Yeah, and then of course the Cultural District Committee has that map project going, which I think maybe we should try and have like a meeting where maybe we go, like maybe we go to their meeting or they come to our meeting to share progress on that in the next, say, few months when they have something to show us, because I think it's going to be a great way to visually depict everything that West Concord Junction has to offer. And, you know, as the committee that's in charge of sort of planning and also kind of has a sense for how everything is arranged in West Concord, I think we could really give some good feedback on that.
I wonder, maybe this is not necessary, but I wonder if, there's some value in doing a joint meeting in May, if there are a bunch of things on the table that both committees are looking at. I don't know if that makes sense logistically, but just.
I think that's a good idea because you could combine all the, I think that's a really good idea. So you could get in and see the branding, and then at the same time, we could also approve the guidelines.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Do you think there's going to really be progress made on the branding though, like it by May? I'm wondering if that May meeting
about what's going on. You could tell you what's going on, and so you are more aware of what it is, and who someone's already been hired for the map. We'll be presenting different map ideas.
Yeah.
Might even have Billy's signs to look at.
That's right. Yeah.
So just so you know what's coming up, because let me tell you, once the signs are out, West Concord's going to look and feel completely differently. And if your group didn't have any part in it, I don't think it won't feel the same way as if you did. So I think it's really, because having those signs out and about totally changed the identity of a place.
Okay, so yeah, we could think of maybe May for a joint meeting, or I guess if it needs to be June, we could do June.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And then,
Yeah.
and then we could also talk about your core goals. So they know what they are. It makes a lot of sense. It really makes a lot of sense.
Marcia, how does that work logistically? Would that require that all our agenda items be mutual, I would assume, right?
For the most part, yes. And we would just post both meetings to be meetings simultaneously.
Okay.
But do you know Kate Yoder at the Concord Conservatory of Music? She is the chair of the West Concord Junction. I can do an introduction email for you both to sort of explore that concept. Yes.
Maybe that's a great, I mean, it may be not a good time for the Cultural District Committee. They may have event planning that they need to focus on at their main meeting, but maybe that's a good thing to at least ask
I think it's a really good idea, because in a way we're still a little bit under COVID shutdown, and things are going to start, it's probably a really good idea to do that, because there's overlap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Kate's a fantastic leader, and it's a great idea.
Okay, and then just one last thing I wanted to mention. I did attend a planning board meeting, and sadly I came in on the tail end when Amy Robinson was kind of getting approved by the planning board. So I'm sorry, Amy, that I wasn't there to support you and give my full-throated, yes, we love her, but I wanted to. I just was a little late in signing on to the meeting that day. They were talking about a lot of stuff prepping for the town meeting. So it wasn't really any huge takeaways for West Concord, but I do know there's a zoning board of appeals meeting tomorrow that relates to 1440 Main Street, which is that sort of, 18 home development that may go in behind those two houses that they've already built there. And there's a lot of earth removal that is entailed and making that lot buildable for what this builder has envisioned. So it could be something that some people who are on this call would be interested in tuning into.
And I'll just give you a heads up that the Zoning Board of Appeals is going to be contracting with a third party to review the impacts of that earth removal. So that there will be a presentation, then they will continue the hearing to June or July. So just an FYI on where things stand.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's not going to be decided tomorrow night.
Got it. Okay. All right. That's really good to know.
Also, I'm sorry, Susan, did you have other?
Nope, I'm done. Yeah,
that was a really helpful update on all fronts. Thank you. I had a related note. I'm on the docket to cover the planning board on Tuesday, I believe, and I'm going to be out of town. I won't be able to do it. I don't know if there's anything West Concord specific on the agenda. It isn't out yet, I don't believe. But if someone is available to trade dates with me, so we have someone there, if there is something West Concord relevant, if you could let me know, that'd be great, either now or later.
For next Tuesday?
Yeah, this coming Tuesday.
I'll check quickly.
It might be a freebie. There might be nothing for us. You might get it off.
What time do they meet?
Is it
7?
Like 7, yeah.
So
I
if someone's
can't,
available,
unfortunately. My son's at soccer.
yay for soccer.
I
Yeah.
can, Amy.
Could you do it, Jeff?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so I will check our doodle poll and I will take your date.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
I have a question about that. Is that something I should have access to or else, or be added to? That
Yes, I
Whatever
will
you just
send you
referenced.
our very official doodle poll and I will extend it.
I've never
I think-
heard of one of those, so I'm looking forward to it. Sounds great.
Oh, it's very exciting. Yeah, so I'll send that your way. And I think we're almost at the end of our cycle, so it might be time for a new doodle poll even to sign up for the next round. Okay, I think that's all we have. Any other liaison updates?
I don't. I had another super busy month. So, but I will get one the next time. Well, as I reach out to, I think it's Steve.
That sounds great. And for folks, since I'm sort of by de facto doing liaison on the like administrative town clerk role, and new member stuff, if you guys need me, if you're like having a crazy week or month and you need me to pinch hit on a liaison thing, just give me a shout and I'm happy to do that.
Try when to meet, so much more convenient than Doodle, in my opinion.
You know, I just did my first one of those through work the other day. Yeah, you put your availability and it saves instantly and you can see everyone else's availability and it's like intensity of color shows intensity of availability.
Easier to edit too, if you need to change things.
Good lead. Okay, public comment. Any comments from the public? No. Can you hear the background yelling of my baby? He's providing public comment of dismay about my time. Okay. Okay, so anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second.
All right. Do we have to do a roll call for that too? Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, so roll call vote. Jeff,
Approve.
Susan,
I approve.
Alan,
Approve.
I'm going to approve that as well. So we are adjourning the meeting at 8:33.